So Andrew Yang, of course, ran for president. He developed quite a following, although he didn't really perform in the election itself, in the primary election when he ran for president. But there were a number of strong Yang supporters online. I thought he was an interesting character because there's a number of policies he championed that were even, one could argue, to the left of Bernie. Like when he said he wanted to decriminalize all drugs, not just legalize weed. I thought that was a brave stand, and I really commend him for that. I liked how aggressive he advocated for UBI. Now, even though he had those moments of like, damn, he's freaking it on specific policies, there were always facepalm-worthy moments, of course. So one of them was, that was a red flag, was, yeah, he's actually not for a $15 minimum wage. I totally disagree with him on that. And he always had cringe takes on foreign policy, specifically on Israel-Palestine. Now, when he ran for mayor of New York, it got even worse. He had terrible things he said about BDS, terrible things he said about Israel and Palestine. And you just got the sense, especially when he was running for mayor of New York, he was listening too much to the official advisors. And he hired a lot of people who I think previously worked on like Bloomberg's campaign or something. So really the worst people in the world, the dumbest people in the world, overpaid consultants who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but he brought them on. And you got the sense he started trying to play the game because he was viewed as the front runner, and the poll showed he was the front runner. So now he's like, now I got to do everything right and proper. And then he ran his campaign into the ground. And, I mean, he really flamed out. So we had him on Crystal Kyle and Friends, and we were very... on the policies he's good on, we gave him the credit he deserved. Mainstream media really did treat him unfairly as well, especially back when he ran for president. But then on the policies where he's bad, we really pressed him. Well, now Andrew Yang is doing something new. Take a look at this. So this is from Politico. They say, Andrew Yang to launch a third party. Presidential candidate turned New York City mayoral hopeful is no longer identifying as a Democrat. So, what's my prediction on this third party? This is not going to take a genius to see. This thing is going to crash and burn in a phenomenal way. And this is coming from somebody, I like Andrew personally, I do. Like I said, I think he took a lot of brave stands on specific policies. But in other ways, he's atrocious. On Israel-Palestine, he's atrocious. And there's not enough there to build a party. And you guys know my take on third parties in general when it comes to the way our system works in the U.S. Unless you put into place ranked choice voting first, this is all a waste of time. Whether it's Andrew Yang launching a third party, whether if Bernie launched a third party. If you don't change the way our system works to ranked choice voting, you're literally just doing self-disenfranchisement. Because all that's going to happen is even a third party that does every single thing right in every imaginable way is only going to get, in a presidential election, like 10% of the vote. You can't win a presidential election on 10% of the vote. You just can't do it. You can't do it. So ultimately what you're saying is, let's start this thing to not win. I don't do that. I play to win. I don't like moral victory bullshit things. Like, oh, we built something quickly. Okay, but you didn't win. And what was the other results of... What else happened? What was the backlash effect as a result of what you guys did here? Now, you could tell me, Kyle, it's really a 50-year project to build a third party. Fair enough. That probably is true. Maybe if you did everything exactly right within 50 years, you can get something accomplished on that front. We don't have 50 years to wait. We just don't. So I always found it weird when people who in every respect in their lives are hardcore realists. Hey, I'm a truth teller. I care about the facts. I care about reality, and, I don't have any magical beliefs. But on this front, when it comes to third-party politics, people just have very magical beliefs. They think some sort of miracle can be pulled off, and all of a sudden you could have, third-party presidential candidate or an independent presidential candidate win an election and implement all the change that we need. When in reality, even if you did get a third-party president elected, you would need to do coalition building with the parties that are more nominally in agreement with you in order to get anything done anyway. So even in a situation where you have third party that is successful, and let's say a president gets elected of a third party or an independent, they would have to form governing coalitions with people who we hate in the Democratic Party. So even then, you got to work with these people. So there's just something about it that is just incredibly unserious. And again, I think the best term for it is self-disenfranchisement. So what Andrew Yang is doing here is self-disenfranchisement. What he's doing here is he's saying, let me launch this thing. Almost, you have to know it's going to flame out. Because what are you going to build it on? Andrew Yang is an interesting mix of like some progressive beliefs. He calls himself like a humanitarian capitalist or something like that. But he's also got some libertarian beliefs. Like one of the things I questioned him on when he was on Crystal Kyle and Friends is one of the things he proposed was eliminating, having sunset clauses on like all regulations. So only for 5 or 10 years, if the government passes a regulation, there's a sunset clause in 5 or 10 years, so then you have to re-vote on that regulation. But I just think that's a terrible idea because some things should be in there permanently. Clean water protections, you name it. Certain Wall Street regulations should be in there permanently. You shouldn't have to revisit it every 5 or 10 years, especially with the corruption in our government. What's going to happen is they're going to allow Wall Street to get away with whatever they want. They're just going to wait for the sunset clause to run out, and then they'll just do whatever the fuck they want. So he doesn't have the ideology to sustain a third party, even though in many ways he's interesting and good, because in many ways he's bad. But even if he did have the ideology to sustain a third party, you're doing self-disenfranchisement, and it's almost guaranteed to flame out. Even if you do everything right, you're not going to win. So just here's what I would plead with people who are really all in on a third-party approach. Here's what I would plead with you to do. I'm not going to stand in your way. I'm not going to argue against you. If you support the ideas that I support, I wish you luck. I genuinely do. Whether it's the Green Party, the People's Party, or whoever. But for the love of God, all of your effort up front should be ranked choice voting. We got to get to ranked choice voting. So all of the effort going into all the different third-party attempts, whether it's a Socialist Party or People's Party or Green Party or whoever, first and foremost, all of your efforts should be to come together, work on getting ranked choice voting so that then at least you're in the conversation and you're in the game and it's not just fake. Because until you get ranked choice voting, it's fake. Because it's always going to be the Democrat or the Republican winning. Always, 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 always. It's like saying we have Coke and Pepsi, but RC Cola is going to win out of nowhere. That's not going to happen. It's going to be Coke or Pepsi. Just it's going to be Democrat or Republican. They're going to win. So first and foremost, get ranked choice voting done, and then once you get ranked choice voting done, then you're not doing self-disenfranchisement as much, because then you could say, here's the way I rank my candidates. I want whoever my candidate is for the Green Party or the People's Party or Andrew Yang's party or some Socialist Party, I want they're my number one option. Then underneath that, I want whatever. Bernie, if Bernie was running, underneath that, whatever it might be. So you have to do ranked choice voting first. If you're not doing ranked choice voting first, you are doing self-disenfranchisement. Absolutely. In other words, you're wasting all of this energy, which could be used for productive ends. You're wasting all this energy, which could be used for a general strike or specific issue advocacy or direct ballot initiatives or union organizing. You're wasting all of this energy, which is productive energy, and funneling it into something that's going to, even if everything goes right, you're going to top out at 10% and never win anything ever. So for the love of God, focus first and foremost on ranked choice voting. Now, I don't know. Maybe Andrew Yang will do that. And if he does, hey, more power to you, man. Go right ahead. But ultimately, even though in many ways I like Andrew, there's enough areas where I have massive disagreements where I really have no interest in his third party. If he gets ranked choice voting first, yeah, then I'll hear out the candidates and maybe there's one I agree with more or less. But you got to get ranked choice voting first, or this is a giant, colossal waste of time, and he's going to be massively embarrassed. You know, if you're in it to run every election, whether it's presidential election or for any other position, and the best you can hope for is like 10%, why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting your time? Don't you want to have a strategy that you could actually win? And if you get ranked choice voting, at least you're in the conversation. I still think you'll probably lose for about 5 decades, but at least you're in the conversation where it's not literally a total waste of time and self-disenfranchisement. So anyway, I'm a big fan of UBI. Andrew Yang likes UBI. I'm a big fan of drug decriminalization. I'd go even further, drug legalization, legal, tax, and regulate. I'm a big fan of ranked choice voting. He is too. But there's enough there with Israel-Palestine and some foreign policy stuff and, you know, some libertarian economic ideas that I'm not with him. But he is starting a third party. We don't know the exact core fundamental policy issues of it yet, but We'll talk about it when it comes out, but Yang is apparently going to try to embark on probably the single most difficult thing to do in politics, which is why until you get ranked choice voting, he's just self-disenfranchising.